Hey, what's up, everybody? Shinmoku here, and just gonna do a quick, well, not necessarily quick. The other one was like 40 minutes. This has a significant amount of albums too, so it's probably not gonna be very quick. But still gonna update you guys on my CD collection. Been going ham, frankly. Just deal hunting left and right. Some of these are new just through Amazon Prime, and you save a lot with no shipping, and of course, new is preferable, but a lot of these you're going to see are a little older. Got to get them used. So let's just dive right into it. Notes from the Underground from Hollywood Undead, unabridged, but not uncensored. Yeah, that was an oopsie. So I got this used for about $6. It's in fantastic condition. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to send this back just because it's censored. And honestly, my favorite songs from this are the ones that didn't really need censorship anyways. Like Outside and Rain. Like, I love those songs. And like they didn't need the censoring. And then the ones that do need censoring are usually the ones I think are a little bit cringy. So like it all worked out in the end. And it's always fun. I've listened to this album since it came out 7 years ago. And just hearing like new sounds they didn't even know were there, or hearing them in better quality, it adds something to the experience. So definitely a fun album there. Moving on, a little bit of a less fun album, but still fantastic. Kanye West, 808s and Heartbreak. Just phenomenal record through and through, other than maybe like RoboCop, but that's okay because he got songs like Amazing, Love Lockdown, Paranoid, Heartless, of course, and Pinocchio Story. Super underrated track. I think that's a very heartbreaking track, and is very telling to where his both his mind and his career went moving forward. Onto things like Yeezus, some questionable tracks off of maybe The Life of Pablo, things like that. Where exactly his mind was going with losing his mother, and then just having all this fame out of nowhere and just starting to lose touch with reality. Hence the auto tune throughout this album, and it's just really fantastic. And I picked this up for $1.71, and it just doesn't even have a scratch on it, so very happy with that. Oh, and it includes the poster, but just so you know, the poster on this, you have to take the actual cover out to get the poster, unlike with Graduation, which we'll get to soon-ish, looks like. Next up, Denzel Curry, Taboo. Now, Denzel was one of those guys. I really liked Ultimate. I think everyone likes Ultimate. It's a super hype, just angry, visceral track. Everyone likes it. But I just never got around to listening to him. And, I just saw, I do like some reaction channels here and there. And I saw tons of them. Sean C., TC the Top Cat. They all have this album's vinyl just posted in the background. And I'm like, is Denzel really capable of making a holistic, really solid, great album that you put it up with Igor or Kendrick or Danny Brown? Yes, absolutely he was. This blew me away the first time I heard it. Songs like Clout Cobain, Mad I Got It, Sirens, unbelievably good. I was just so pleasantly surprised with this album. Had to get it, of course, and it does, I think. Yeah, it includes the alternative artworks in here as well. See if we can get that with Wait, can this be the thumbnail? Sorry, Denzel. Yeah, I didn't mess it up too bad. But okay, Denzel Curry, Taboo, highly recommend it. He actually says a lot on this album. There's a whole lot of very deep interpersonal messages and just commentary on society and all those things. And just was very pleasantly surprised and frankly blown away with some of the tracks on there. Next up, kind of disappointed with the condition of this thing. You can see it as a crack here. Kanye West, Late Registration, great album. Kind of displeased with the condition of this thing. Of course, this was the classic. Amazon said this was in very good condition. I mean, that can happen during shipping too, so no biggie. And honestly, the CD was flawless as well, and the booklet is flawless too. That's what really counts at the end of the day, so no harm, no foul. So if you don't remember, this is the one with songs like Hey Mama, Gold Digger, Touch the Sky, Heard Him Say. A really almost heartbreaking in retrospect, because this was where I think Kanye was probably at his best, because this had all of the commentary of College Dropout, but had a much cleaner quality to it. Having HD vocals and beats doesn't necessarily make a good album, but it just did everything the College Dropout did right, but didn't seem a little low budget. You know, it seemed like a very high budget project. So yeah, I think this was Kanye at his best, frankly. Not the most amount of hits out of it. You know, like this doesn't include too many of what I would call Kanye's absolute best, but this was his most consistent, I would say. Speaking of Kanye, let's move on to another Kanye project. Yay! I hate being bipolar. It's awesome. So this was just a really interesting album. I mean, it's only like 23 minutes long. So obviously a very short track list, but I think it's very impactful. You know, the story would be behind I Thought About Killing You is, of course, very sad. And then just Violent Crimes, just another heartbreaker. I was re-listening to it today, and I was like, man, I would suggest this everyone to listen to the whole album if All Mine wasn't on there. I wasn't the biggest fan of that track. But otherwise, the album is pretty much flawless. I think it's a great showcase of where Kanye's mind was at the time of this release. And you'll see another album in here. It's very closely related to this. It is very good for the same sort of reasons. Like really funky sort of Kanye beats, but some definite experimentation in there as well, not only with the beats, but with his vocals too. And the lyrics, of course, it's surprising to me that Kanye has kept such interpersonal lyrics and really opening up in his music, despite the fact that he's just absolutely enormous. He knows millions upon millions of people are going to be listening to this, but he still really opens up about his personal flaws, his outlook on life, things like that. And a classic. Here we go. Rage Against the Machine. Focus, please. Rage Against the Machine, self-titled album, their first album. Please focus. That's okay. It doesn't have to focus. You guys don't have to see this anyways. Yeah, of course, this is the Buddhist monk who immolated himself at a intersection in Saigon. And of course, this picture shown throughout the world and almost caused like a revolution in the very confusing Vietnam War times. And it was just a super impactful photo. And it's a good photo. This is sort of F the establishment, basically. You can read all about the background of this photo online. It's still everywhere. What are we? Almost 70 years? Holy shit! Wait, 1960s were almost 70 years ago. Almost 70 years on, this picture still holds a lot of value, and it was just heard around the world, and it sort of ties very well into what Rage Against the Machine is all about. Of course, you could just read the name of the of the artist. You know what it's about. Very anti-establishment. Anti-corruption, things like that, anti-bigotry, of course, they're big on that as well. And this is where Killing in the Name of comes from. Freedom is just absolutely just blood-curdlingly just entertaining and visceral, and it's really good to mosh out to. And I know the lead singer, Zach, had gone on record and saying it's not really something to mosh out to. We really want the message to be out there, not just for people to bang their heads to. So I think that was lost on people a little bit, but through and through, an awesome record, awesome instrumentation, awesome performances from the lead vocalist, Zach, and it's just really impactful. And, you know, people refer to this album, you know, of course I listened to it on YouTube first. I'm not just going to buy an album out of nowhere. So I was listening to it on YouTube, and the comments were all like, oh, you know, it's still relevant today. Well, you know, the unfortunate thing is that albums like this, you know, anti-establishment, anti-corruption, anti-bigotry, it's always going to be relevant. It's a never-ending fight. You're never going to see the end of those unfortunate things of life in your lifetime. So I think this type of music is important, but just know that it's not the end, you know. That was kind of dark. Sorry. Speaking of dark, Clipping, Visions of Bodies Being Burned. Absolutely epic horror album. I just absolutely love this album so much. It's so weird. It's so fun. It's so dark. It's so everything that sort of horror encapsulates. Like, it gets you thinking. It keeps you on your toes. It's wonderful through and through. I really can't recommend this album highly enough. Eaten Alive still hasn't grown on me. But regardless, I mean, the rest of this album, absolute 10 out of 10 material. I mean, just wonderful, and I liked how focused it was. There exists an Addiction to Blood, fabulous album, but I do really enjoy how much more focused this one was. Before we go full depresso mode, I don't know if you guys can see that album back there. Linkin Park Hybrid Theory 20th Anniversary Edition. The second CD includes things like My December, High Voltage, Step Up as well, I believe, and then a few obscure live performances, which I think was cool. I do have to say, wasn't too pleased with the booklet here. This was $20, and their shipping is not cheap either. This is $20, and it's a very, very cheap booklet. I remember I had the jewel case a long time ago, and the booklet in there was actually had actually more in it. I do remember. I distinctly remember. I'm sure there's scans somewhere online where you can compare this with the original Hybrid Theory's booklet, but overall, I mean, it's still Hybrid Theory. Fantastic album. Very happy to have the 20th Anniversary Edition. And as you heard me say, I lost the jewel case a long time ago. Maybe like more than 10 years ago at this point. Let's just jump into it. Mac Miller Circles. I've always been meaning to listen to this since it came out. I had always enjoyed every Mac song that I'd listened to. I just never really got into him. Didn't like download all of his albums, just listen to it constantly. It's just something that didn't happen, and unfortunately, I've started listening to him too late. But regardless, I saw this online for like $3, and it's absolutely fantastic condition. It comes with, I have it back here. I wanted to hang it up actually. It comes with this little poster type thing, which I think is really cute. And of course, this goes through his trials and tribulations when we're approaching the end of his time here. And it's, of course, things like Good News. It's very heartbreaking and things like that. And tragedy aside, it was still very, it was a pretty fun listen, actually, all things considered. And this also included the 2 deluxe edition songs as well, which were actually super enjoyable too. So, 2 of my favorites on the album, actually. So, it was I was pretty sure I was going to like it, but nonetheless, pretty pleasant surprise, if not a bit tragic. But let's move on to White Men Are Black Men Too from Young Fathers. And, despite the title and the very, bright imagery, it's not a super political or sort of it doesn't use very lofty terms on this album. It's a mostly introspective album, sort of like a lo-fi soul R&B fusion type of feel to this, and it's just super unique. And I just, some of the melodies just get stuck in my head randomly on just on a regular days. A melody from this just gets stuck in my head, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's from that Young Fathers album. So I highly recommend it. I think it's a excellent album through and through. Really doesn't put a foot wrong to me. I think it's just absolutely excellent and super memorable, especially with this. I really like how this turned out on the sort of little booklet here. I know it's just cardboard, but I really like how the color came out. It doesn't come out too well on camera, but I really like how it just like blurts out at you. So let's move on to Kids See Ghosts. Kanye West and Kid Cudi, of course, come together to create this awesome album. Super short, just like Ye was. This is so you could say it's the sister album to Ye, actually. It's got some fantastic songs like Reborn, and then the title track Kids See Ghosts, Cudi Montage, Fourth Dimension, Freeze, awesome too. Basically every song in here is just awesome for what it is, and it's just such a joy to listen to through and through. Super personal too to Kanye and Cudi both. Really going really deep into their emotional and mental issues in their lives, and it's just fantastic. Some of the most interesting vocal work they've ever done, some of the most interesting production they've ever done, some of the best lyrics. Well, not necessarily just straight up like lyrical quality, but just how personal it does get on this album is it's something that you have to commend. You can move on here to Danny Brown's Old, a really interesting record, a little partway disappointing, partway the best thing he's ever made. I mean, you got songs like Torture, Wonder Bread, $25, The Return, all just incredible Danny Brown songs. And then you got, kind of lame songs like Dip, Smoke and Drink, that are good party tracks. And a few of them do have messages spliced throughout. But really, he what he was going for here. There's side A, which is this thing's 19 tracks, by the way. So gear up for that if you're into looking into projects like this. So the side A, which is a very serious subject matter, talking about his personal demons with addiction and struggling to cope with trauma in the past. And then the second half is all just party tracks. And I get what he was going for there. I do understand, but the party tracks are just so generic sounding, and they really all start to feel the same. By the end of the album, you're just tired of it, and you just want it to end. But it doesn't go on too long, so it doesn't ruin the album. But it is just a little boring. And Kush Como was definitely not the best one to end on. But Float On was great. It's still a great way to end the album. So, I think it's worth a listen. Just for the first half alone, it's absolutely worth a listen. But you can listen to the whole thing and still have a pretty fun time. But that sort of dichotomy between the sort of damaged Danny and the party Danny, it didn't really come through too well in the album because it was just such a stark contrast, side A, side B type thing. And then this might surprise you if you watch my Linkin Park worst to best. Hunting Party was my least favorite Linkin Park album. It still is, but funny enough, the reason I got all the Linkin Park albums was because I was so displeased with the Spotify ones sound okay, but on YouTube at least, this album sounds horrible. I don't know what sort of version of the album they chose to put on YouTube. It just sounded really bad. So I was like, I just want to hear this thing on CD and hear it more cleanly. And it did actually improve the album a bit to me, but still not necessarily my favorite album of all time, but still some solid songs on here. I think it's an interesting listen too. It's mostly just interesting because I'm trying, while I'm listening, I'm trying to figure out what they were going for, but I can't pin it down because it just seems a little scatterbrained. They didn't really know what they wanted to do. They just knew they wanted to be angry. And we can move on here to Kanye West Graduation, Absolute. You could call this one a modern classic, really. So many hits on here. You got You're Stronger, Homecoming, Good Morning. Really solid Kanye tracks. Of course, this was when he sort of took a turn for the worse. I think most people see it that way. This was more of an introspective album, and in that way, it didn't come off as Kanye with College Dropout and Late Registration, he was seen as a different breed, basically. But then, this sort of talking about his fame and his money and all, and girl problems, all these sort of things, it sort of brought him more in line. People saw it that way as bringing him more in line with other rappers on the scene at the time. This was still I think the Bling era was pretty much still in full force. I think it was 2007 this came out. But of course, it's just got a bunch of great songs. Oh, it doesn't say on the back. But yeah, we all know what's on here. I Wonder, Stronger, Homecoming, Barry Bonds. We don't talk about drunk and hot girls on here. But yeah, it's just got absolutely phenomenal Kanye songs. Some very forgettable ones too, though. And of course, it does have to be said that the lyrical subject matter, he was so staunchly political and just seemed like such an activist on Late Registration and College Dropout. And then this came out, and it was like, that's a weird turn of form, Mr. Kanye West. Still a great album though. I'm glad I have it, and it came with a poster that you can probably tell it's pre-owned. It's still smushed. It was pre-owned, but he included the poster. Credit to the guy who sold it to me. Definitely pre-owned. Is My Desperate Measures from Hollywood Undead. This was the in-between album, sort of when they were having some issues within the band, especially with the lead singer Deuce. Of course, he had a very different outlook on what the band should be. Basically, I think it seemed like everyone else wanted to go in a more mature direction, and Deuce was hard party type guy. And some of the solo music, going back to it now, some of the solo music was just so nasty. Not even just raunchy, just nasty. I don't want which one is it? Not I Came to Party. That one's mostly pretty fun. whatever. There was one of the ones where he's just talking about getting with this 17-year-old girl in the club, and it's like, ew, I don't like that. But it has some terrible cover songs. I don't know what they were thinking there. Some live performances, but Dove and Grenade's fun. Tear It Up. El Urgencia is actually kind of funny, honestly, in retrospect. And I mean, this was super cheap. It also came with a DVD. Was sort of showed some behind the scenes stuff, and yeah, Hollywood Undead are really just a bunch of goofy guys, which is why I'm not the biggest fan of when they try and go all hardcore and stuff, hardcore gangster stuff. We'll save that one for last because that's sad. But let's move on to this. I told you guys I should really have gotten the Madvillainy by the time I did the last update of this, but here it is now. Madvillainy, just absolutely phenomenal album. You guys know why this is great. Impeccable usage of samples, impeccable flow from MF Doom, and it's just, it is such a match made in heaven. It's such a joy to listen to this. It's just like I'm just like, I'm in the mood to listen to music, but I don't know what to listen to. I could just flick on any song from here. Standout tracks, of course, Strange Ways, Meat Grinder, Accordion, Fancy Clown. What is it? Is it Shadow of the Day is the Crazy Quasimodo one? And then, like the Super Villain instrumental, Sick Fit instrumental. Pretty much everything on this album is just gold. It's just complete gold. They really knocked it out of the park. Madlib and MF Doom. Just such... It's so good. I'm so glad I got it. And I really did like one more thing. They didn't paint it on a sort of They didn't print it on a laminated sort of cover art, right? So it has this really stark and gritty look to it. Good touch. I think someone definitely gave them direction. They were like, don't use a laminated booklet. Just make it the black's just because it's so shady and he looks so scary. Sorry, I really like that. All right, let's move on. Juice WRLD with Legends Never Die. So from a more, I guess, clinical point of view, easily Juice WRLD's best album. Death Race for Love and oh my God, I'm forgetting. The white one with the car, the illustration of the car on the cover, I'm sorry. That had Lucid Dreams on it, Armed and Dangerous. Sorry. I forgot what it's called. But yeah, those two, just extremely bloated. Had some, of course, Juice WRLD's capable of making some of the best trap music out there, basically. But those albums as a whole were just a bit of a grind to listen to. I think the second half of Dandy Round's old, but like for 3 times as long, basically. So not great, but he comes through on this album, and huge credit to everyone who worked on this album. I think they did a fantastic job with it. And Juice's vision for this album was, of course, extremely depressing and sad, but that's just where he was at the time. Love the cover art as well. Of course, a very tragic end, and this album just takes on a completely new meaning. But even if Juice was still with us, this would still be a fantastic album, and I think that's the very important thing to take away from it. As you sometimes, you sort of wince or get taken aback by some of the lyrics, and you know how he ended up, and it becomes a little difficult. But in the end, you have to take the music for what it is. It's still great music, regardless of where Juice is at now. So really enjoyable, and he absolutely left a legacy. And apparently, we're getting more albums because he just had so much stuff just left and recorded, because he was an insane freestyler. I'm sure you guys know. So he's someone who could just walk into a booth and just do a freestyle, and everyone's like, okay, we're gonna save that real quick. We'll put a beat on it later, maybe. So maybe we get an album like that, or maybe what I'm thinking is maybe we get a best of, where it's you got your Lucid Dreams, your Robbery, Armed and Dangerous, and then a couple cuts from here, like Conversations, Wishing Well, and then a couple of new tracks as well. Like just a Juice WRLD best of with a couple new tracks on there. That might be best, or if there's really just that many, like 20 or like because usually Juice WRLD albums are over 20 songs long. So maybe if there's like 20 really good songs that we can pull out from his vault, that'd be great too. Either one works for me. I just don't hope that they. I hope they don't milk it. Is basically what I'm trying to say. But that does it for my album update. On I don't know when I'm gonna upload this. Either the 15th or the 16th. One of those two. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you're interested in checking out any of the music, I highly recommend all these albums, obviously, because I own them. But yeah, let me know what you think, and thank you for watching.